Welcome to the LandIS Soil Portal, and this is a general overview of the portal. So when you first see the screen, you can see there's various components on it. Going across the menu, you can see information about the data, a user guide, a user survey, some case studies of how the data has been used, importantly a history of the soil data, information about our research at Cranfield, and the way to create an account. You can search for data by typing in fields such as the National Soil Map or NSI. But we also group the data according to different criteria: point data, soil series definitions, the National Soil Map, and the National Soil Inventory. And this helps you to find the data you want. Let's take an example. The National Soil Inventory has a number of data sets associated with it. And you can see those data sets are listed, ready for you to select from them. On the left side, there's information about various filtering options that can help you zoom in on the data you want. Let's take an example, NSI Topsoil 1. And there's a little information about that data set. When you click it, up comes the data, and on the left hand side is information about that data set, some metadata. On the screen you can find out more about the data set, look at any discussions, filter in on the data sets. You can actually download the data, add it to your list of favourites, and indeed share the data. The map itself also has a range of tools. So for example, you can open a search window, zoom in and out as you can with the mouse, go back to the default home view, and also look at the data table underlying the map. We'll look at that in a minute. There's a range of drawing tools as well, selecting points, drawing lines, drawing areas. We'll show you how that's used in a moment. When you move the cursor around, you can see the sites coming up, and you can click on one of those points, and it brings up all of the attribute field data we store for that point. And you can scroll down and see what that particular point has. And collapse that window, and then remove it completely if you wish. Let's look at some of the filtering options for this. So there's a number of attributes and filtering options can be set. Let's pick carbon as our interesting attribute, and you can see the distribution of values for the carbon across the whole country there. You can also set styling options for the map. So let's pick that carbon field again, and you can see that the map is drawing areas of high and low percentage weight by carbon. In this case, that styling can be removed or added again easily for each of the fields. You can also change the filtering as the map moves. Let's move in a bit and zoom into Anglesey and look at some of the drawing features. So first of all, perhaps you have a study site and you can drop a point or draw a line, a transect, or an area. First of all, let's drop a point in Anglesey. So we'll take a marker and we'll drop it in, and we can filter to this point, or indeed delete the drawing. Let's tell it what size area we want around this point. So let's say a distance of 3 kilometers around the point. You can see the other units you can select, and the area is drawn there. Up at the top you can see the filtering records, none selected at the moment. We can pick up and move that point around if we wish. Let's make it a bit bigger so we collect some points. As we make it 5 kilometers, you'll see that we've picked up one point at the top of the map there, and we can save that change. So that's if you have a particular study site. Let's delete that and look at drawing a transect line instead. So we can draw a line, we click once here and we drag the line across, and then we click again to double click to finish the map, or press enter as well. Double click to finish. And again, we can filter to this line, and now we can change the distance around that filter. So again, let's make that 5 kilometers, and you can see the area selection changes. That's picked up 6 records. We can edit that point and we can move it if we want. So if the transect wasn't quite in the right place, we can move it. We can also pick up the end points and move those around. So if you're conducting a project with a study transect, this is how you do this. It's selecting 12 points, 4 points, and so on from the underlying data. When you're happy with that, save the changes, and then again we can delete it. Lastly, let's look at selecting an area. Let's select the whole of the island of Anglesey. So we go around carefully up the Menai Straits, and when we're finished, press enter or double click to close. And again, we can filter to this area. We won't change the location filter distance now, we'll stick with that. But if we select that, you'll see that now 28 points have been selected. Again, you can pick up the area, move it, and save the changes. So no point in changing that distance because we've selected the area. When you have, in this case, 28 points selected, you can bring up the table. And that shows us those 28 points, and we can zoom up and down in the table and look at that. Let's close that table for now. So what else can you do with this data? Well, one thing you can do is go to the styling and the filters and look at the data, but ultimately you'll be interested in downloading the data. You go to more info and then look at the options there, one of which is download. So we can download in a number of different formats as shown here, and notice the important button at the top, toggle filters. So at the moment there's 5,600 points, of which we have selected 28. So if we just want to download those 28, toggle the filter on. If you want all 5,000, untick that. Let's download the data for Anglesey as an Excel spreadsheet. So you click on Excel and it saves the data. Let's have a look at that data now in Excel, and you can see that the data has been exported. We can also export the data, all of it in this case, to a comma-separated values file. And again, we'll have a look at that file to see it processed. It's quite a big file, so we wait for that to download. So here's the Excel spreadsheet just showing the immediate points for Anglesey, and you'll see you can scroll across in the spreadsheet and see all the different data sets, data points that are in there, but only restricted to that filtered area. Also, here is the CSV file, and this is a very large file, and all of the data is held in that file now in the comma-separated format, ready to be read into some other program or GIS. Other formats might be GIS shapefiles, geodatabases, and so on, KML files. Let's look at what else you can do. There's an option at the bottom saying I want to, and one of the things you might want to do is create a map or a story in your ArcGIS Online, view the data source, view the metadata, or open in ArcGIS Online. Let's have a look at the metadata. This loads up the file that's in the international ISO 19139 metadata format. And you can see there the XML layout of the file, and you can save that off. Another thing you can look at is the API resources for the data. And there's an API Explorer here, which allows you to select which fields you'd like to query, and spatial input and output options, and you can click a response and see the JavaScript object notation data that is put out by the database, and you can scroll through that. This is actually in the website, of course, but if you want to do that from outside the website, it gives you the query URL that you have as well, and you can copy that to the clipboard and run that query. You will need a token for that to work. You can also select other options like opening in Map Viewer and storing maps under More here. Also, you can see here a description of each of the many fields in the database, together with a short description underneath the field explaining what it actually is, and also a helpful icon on the left giving some indication of the type of data, whether it's a measurement or a coordinate in this case. Where possible, ArcGIS Online will give you a graph of the data as well, a histogram, so you can look at the extent and range of the data. Thank you.